Omashele, Edinalangi, Singoe, Andimangi, No Shange, Opangi. Men. No kumana ndo jusa yange.
Today on One, Always There. Today on One, your daily dose of local affairs and social media commentary. Today on One, national budget to focus on COVID-19, family defense, confiscation of empty bottles, parents warned against leaving kids unattended, and NNOC to start anti-doping education campaign.
Finance Minister Ipumbu Shimi tabled the appropriate bill in Parliament today that reflects an increase in funding to key sectors that are dealing with COVID-19, as well as promoting growth and cushioning the economic impact. The national budget for the financial year 2020-21 indicates the government's commitment towards the fight against COVID-19. Shimi emphasized that through the allocations, much of which will go to the social sector ministries such as health and education, will facilitate and set the country in a better position to overcome COVID-19.
The Ministry of Health and Social Services is allocated 7.95 billion. This is 12.4% of the total non-interest expenditure. The funding will allow the health sector to roll out measures for combating COVID-19. The Ministry of Basic Education, Arts and Culture receives 14.2 billion, equivalent to 22.1% of the total allocation. Higher Education, Training and Innovation receives 3.3 billion, or 5.1% of the total allocation, of which 900.2 million is for UNAM, 503.9 million for NAST, and 1.5 billion for NASFAF, including a guarantee-backed loan facility of 238 million. The Ministry of Gender Equality, honorable members, fellow Namibians, poverty eradication and social welfare is allocated 5.3 billion to 8.2% of the total allocation, mainly to cater for the social safety nets which form the first line of defense against poverty for the vulnerable members of our society, especially during COVID-19.
Shimi assured the public that this will not be the time to expect tax increments, but those that earn above the threshold of 50,000 Namibia dollars per annum will have to pay taxes. The budget tabled this year has increased considerably compared to the budget of last year, mainly due to improvements in collecting revenue.
I table before you the 2020-2021 budget totaling 72.8 billion. This is a single-year budget reflecting the commensurate agency of addressing the elevated once-off needs arising from the impact of COVID-19. Non-interest operational expenditure is budgeted at 57.9 billion, 8.8% more than the previous year, reflecting accelerated funding needs to fight COVID-19.
Members of the opposition were not pleased with the budget.
The ruling party is trying to cover up. Everything is COVID-19, COVID-19. We know the severity of COVID-19, but the failures of consistent policies has brought us here. The goose that used to lay the golden egg, which is SACU revenue, has been drying up for a number of years. Contraction of the economy has been felt for the last four financial years. So what we are seeing, we are not seeing new policy direction that gives impetus to saving jobs, that addresses housing, that addresses pushing back the frontiers of poverty and making sure that we stimulate the economy.
For the Landless People's Movement, we are quite disappointed, but we're not surprised in the allocations. It is a disappointment because it shows that they are actually covering up their state looting and corruption, because now we're seeing that the budget is, the allocation, even just for creation of jobs, is about 187,000. That is nothing, because now we have seen with a high percentage of retrenchment rate, more emphasis should be placed in ensuring that more jobs are created, more jobs are secured. In terms of water, it's not enough, given with the drought that has drastically affected lives, societies, communities, our agricultural sector.
The PDM Treasurer Nico Smith suggested that debate on the budget commence next week, Tuesday. The Speaker of Parliament, in conclusion, approved and adjourned the session.
It's not like it used to be. We all used to share tafel lager with our friends and family. Something has come and made those spirits so much harder to lift. But we have hope. We see the Namibian spirit in a nation working together from a distance to make a better country. We can't wait for this to pay off. And when it does, we'll be excited to bring the smooth taste of Namibia's finest to people who have truly earned it. Tafel lager, made of Namibia.
The Windhoek City Police has removed a family living in the bush in the industrial area of Simbabasea for allegedly being on the land illegally. The family has been living in the bush for the past 5 years and uses the area to collect empty bottles to resell. The family was given a house by the Gender Ministry, but according to them, they cannot afford the house without making an income from the bottles. A commotion broke out between the family and the city police officers right before they loaded the empty bottles onto the truck.
Ha, maar hoe kom ek nie vir jou gaan identifiseer nie? Ha? Wie is jy? Ha, ek ken jou nie, waarvan ek jy kom nie. Jy kom net soos jy wil in my huis in. In my huis in. Ha? Jy kom in my huis in. Ha? Moet opstaan hier. Maar hulle was my regte. Was my regte. Vertel my, jy so die hoëne. Die hoëne se kak hy van hierso. Jou kak sal hierso val. Ek het nou gekom dat ek vir jou wys wie is die regte man. Almal Rastafarian. Ek rook dagga, ek kook hom uit. Ek gee my kinders vir hom in as medical. Dis religion. Dis a kind of my religion. Hy keer dit af. Hy keer dit af.
Die mense gaan op drugstories hierso. Hulle gaan op drugstories wat hulle nie kan bewys nie. Daai bottels wat julle daar sien is my kinders se brood. Daarvan af gee jy kinders skool. Hulle gaan by ons se projek skool. Hulle is nou besig met skoolwerk. Hulle hardloop want hulle is bang vir die polisie. Hulle is besig met hulle skoolwerk. Nou moet hulle rondhardloop.
Ek is klaar met die Swabo regering. Ek is klaar. Ek het nie gaan gestem nie. Ek stem nie vir Swabo nie. Ek het ook nie vir boere gestem nie. I am a religion. Ek kom van Almighty af. Ek stem nie vir Swabo nie. Never ever. Never ever.
Joseph Sikonko wat Saterdag by my was, ek wag hom.
Never ever. Ons het baie probleme met hierdie mense. Hulle het vir ons jare.
Social workers het ook al my kinders gevat. Ek het my 2017, ek het my suster se kind Kaal sonder 'n penty gaan gekry by gender social workers se plek.
Windhoek City Police Superintendent and Head of the Bylaw Division, Hilma Umpuka, said that the family has a house in Ochumise and that living in the bush is not ideal for their little children.
What is happening here today is just we are here to remove this family that is staying here. We were here on Saturday, and not only on Saturday, but they were prepared already with the first phase 1 of lockdown. They were told that they need to leave this place. And before that, they were already moved because these people acquired a house in Ochomise. It's a 3-bedroom house that they acquired through the Ministry of Gender, and they were told to move to that house. So they were not willing. That was last year. They were moved by the city police and Ministry of Gender involved. They moved them to that house that they have given to them, because for Ministry of Gender to get involved is because of the living condition that the kids are living here. So Ministry of Gender acquired this house for them.
Mpuka added that they suspect that the people living in that area are involved in illegal activities and will be removing others also living in the surrounding areas.
This land belongs to the city of Windhoek, and they did not acquire it legally. And the conditions they are putting the kids through is also not acceptable. And besides that, there are also a lot of illegal activities going on here, because we have other people also staying deep there in the mountains, and we are going to move all of them. So currently, this family is going to Ochomwise, to the house that belongs to them. And for now, we are now going to move the rest of the things, because other things we moved already on Saturday. In their presence, we load their belongings, but they refused to go with us. They said they are going to Marindal, they are not going to Ochomwise, but we dropped their belongings to Ochomwise, where the mother to the lady is, and the other children also. So what we are going to do is to clear up this place.
The Windhoek City Police will be moving their items to their home in Ochomwise, but the family complained that they cannot gather bottles at home and needs the empty bottles to earn an income.
Welcome back. For over 50 years, PEP has embraced the spirit of Sikhula Kunye, growing together. We've never been apart from you before, so it's very special to have you back. We've made our stores safe, and our incredible staff who call Dynamos are ready to help whatever you need. Warm clothing for your baby and children, refreshing your home, a new cell phone. We're still here to help. You can always count on our lowest prices and trusted laybys. We are stronger together, and we will grow together. Sikhula Kunye, PEP.
Parents and guardians are being warned against leaving young children home alone and unguarded, as this may result in accidents within the households. This comes after Rosalia Angelu, a full-time cleaner at Lady Bohamba Hospital, lost her home to a fire. According to Angelu, on the day of the incident, she had left for work with her children under the care of her neighbors. Fire that ravaged her home broke out after one of the children tried to warm the food Angelu had left for their lunch.
I received a call from my neighbor telling me my house burned down. I had to put in emergency leave to come find out what happened. Upon arrival, I saw the house really burned down. Luckily, no harm came to my children. I thank God for protecting them from the fire. I'm asking for assistance from those that can help in this situation. I have 3 children living with me. As you can see, I have this little one who needs nappies and milk, which all burned in the fire. We are left with nothing. I am left with only my uniform for work. My passport didn't burn, and the older children's birth certificate, but the little one's birth certificate burned.
GBV activist Zachary Itodo is calling on parents and guardians to be very watchful of the little ones, as sometimes they might be up to no good.
My understanding of what happened here is that this lady had to go to work, and she left her kids with the neighbor. They really don't know what happened, but for sure, this got burnt as a result of gas negligence on the part of someone with the gas stove, and that's what happened here. And I would want to advise parents, if you must leave your children with your neighbors, please make sure that your neighbors would have time to attend and monitor these children. And neighbors who are willing to help their neighbors take care of the children, it's a good thing. That shows good neighborliness. But you should be prepared to monitor these children, their movements and what they do. Because if this neighbor had done the right thing, this would not have happened. We're not here to trade blames. It has happened, it has happened. The way forward. we can't watch this 5-month-old baby continue to sleep in the tent in this cold. So we are appealing to members of the public who can assist this lady with children's clothes and sheets of zinc and wood to rebuild the shack for her, so that her and her children can go back and stop sleeping in the tent in this cold.
The single mother of 3 expressed gratitude that none of her children were hurt in the fire. Angelo is currently being sheltered in a tent while her young ones sleep over at her neighbors for the time being. She is appealing to members of the public who are willing to assist her in any way possible to reach out on the numbers below.
Let's talk about the coronavirus outbreak here in Africa. How do you get people to regularly wash their hands when water is scarce? How do you get people to work from home when majority of Africans work in the informal sector?
People are dying and suffering.
More importantly, how do you get a vibrant and dynamic continent to stop in its tracks? Welcome to The Breakdown, BBC Africa's COVID-19 special program, helping you make sense of the crisis.
The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic has hit worldwide. The sports industry has been hard hit, with activities halted due to measures set in place in different countries such as social movements. Sporting athletes have therefore been conducting self-training. As training is slowly resuming, the World Anti-Doping Agency is requesting for athletes to be tested worldwide. In light of the Anti-Doping Agency's request to resume anti-doping testing, the Namibian National Olympics Committee is planning on starting an anti-doping educational campaign with athletes.
Now, what is critical in this case is that we have to test the athletes. There are 2 ways how we test the athletes. We test athletes while they are out of competition, which means that like now, most of the athletes have been training by themselves, they've all been themselves. So now they have lost time, they are not competition fit and so on. Most of the athletes were basically not at high level performance peak and so on. And they may be tempted to kind of maybe try to get themselves at the peak level and so on, and made by using some drugs which are not kind of allowed and so on. Of course, we have a list of drugs which is basically prohibited. You are not supposed to use them and so on. So after the outbreak of the pandemic, we went into a stage that we stopped testing athletes and so on. But now that we are slowly going back to preparation training and so on, and some of the non-contact sport kicking off, we will have to kind of get to the point that we start testing the athletes and so on. So that is important, that we have to educate the athletes once from fresh, that they have to stick to the rules. They should not use any substances which they are not allowed to use. And then it's important that we start with the training. We are going to work with the Athletes Commission, where we will run these education programs and training programs again with the athletes, and then make sure that the coaches, the parents are also educated, so that they can take note of this process. And then certainly we will start selecting some of the athletes to test them.
Hwahup also explained why it is important for the public to be educated on how to keep national athletes clean from doping.
What will also happen is that there is 2 levels of testing. Some of the tests are requested by the international federations before the competitions and so on. Some of the tests are requested by the national bodies, where maybe the Sport Commission or National Federation may request and say that we want to test this athlete and so on. So it's important that we have to run these education programs with the athletes, with the parents, with the coaches, with the doctors who are prescribing medication to these athletes and so on. And it's also important for the athletes, when they go to a medical doctor, if they have any other problems, health problems and so on, they need to inform the doctor that they are an athlete. They are elite athlete, they are participating at national level, at senior level, so that the medical doctor or the medical officer can know that this is an athlete. I cannot prescribe anything to this athlete which is maybe listed and not supposed to go there. So if the athlete doesn't communicate that, the medical officer may think that, okay, no, it's just an ordinary athlete, I can just give this and so on. We are planning to start in the course of this week with some of these sessions. We need to kind of start looking at the non-contact sport, who has already started, and sensitize the coaches, the managers, the federations, the committees and so on, so that they can start bringing up this issue of anti-doping to the athletes.
The president of the NNOC is therefore advising athletes to keep clean and refrain from taking illegal substances, as it may hinder their chances of competing nationally, as he calls for them to keep on training during this pandemic.
Welcome to Sport Africa. The BBC's new weekly show will explore the big sporting issues and questions, like why Africans aren't winning medals in the pool.
I just think it's their mindset.
Meeting established and rising stars.
I could be the Nigerian first Grand Slam winner.
And at the heart of it will be you, the fans, with your passion, your opinions, your stories, and even tests of your sporting knowledge. Go beyond the game with BBC Sport Africa.
In other leading stories, in its continued support in the fight against COVID-19, Bank Windhoek donated 500 reagent testing kits and swab collection kits to the Namibian government. The bank's Executive Officer of Marketing and Corporate Communication Services, Jacqueline Pack, handed over the donation to the Minister of Health and Social Services, Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, at the Namibia Institute of Pathology's head office in Windhoek. Through the Analytical Technology and Chemical Supply, the bank, in collaboration with NIP, was able to procure the material despite logistical challenges posed by the pandemic. The donation will assist the ministry's program of expanding targeted testing to access the population's degree of the transmission. And the U.S. Department of Defense handed over 2 Toyota Land Cruisers to the Namibian Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. One of the vehicles will be based at the Waterberg Law Enforcement Training Center, where it will be used for training purposes, while the other will be used for anti-poaching activities, specifically with a K9 unit to combat wildlife crime. This donation is part of the U.S. Foreign Military Financing Program for Biodiversity to be used in Namibia's anti-poaching efforts. The delivery of the Land Cruisers marks the halfway point in deliveries of items worth $530,000 under the FMFP program. The first delivery was made in January 2019 when the DoD provided 65 pairs of low-light binoculars to MEFT for anti-poaching activities. Additional items included in the program are camping gear, anti-poaching crime scene equipment and classroom furniture.
Welcome to Comments Corner, your daily dose of comments from the hottest social media pages. Today on One recently visited Kwisopmund, a location in Walvis Bay, to investigate how some unemployed residents living in the coastal region are managing to survive during the COVID-19 state of emergency. Kaviwa said even people with high salaries are renting. It is very difficult in Walvis Bay to own a house unless you are connected. Paulina said that most of the fishermen lost their houses after they lost their jobs, as they were not able to pay for them anymore. Franz said this is a learning curve for those who are still having jobs to learn and save for rainy days. Maria said she is crushed to hear that the future generation is suffering like this. The leader of the student command element from the Landless People's Movement political party, Dominga Ndala, recently criticized the SWAPO Party Youth League for issuing a statement that calls on local media to refrain from reporting that head of state Hage Geingob had allegedly benefited from funds paid as bribes to fund his bid at the SWAPO Congress. Tobias said he is tired of corruption. They have been paying membership cards each year with no benefits. Stephen said he is tired of the mafia government. Clarence said politics is not for everyone. Tobias said Spile has every right to defend the president. And that is all from Comments Corner. Be sure to post your comments on our social media pages for broadcast every day only on Today on One.
From Cape to Cairo, Accra to Antananarivo, there are millions of people just like you trying to make a living to make money. And there's no magic way to get rich quick, unless you're Aliko Dangote. You're not Aliko Dangote, are you? No? Well, perhaps we can help you get a little further along the way. With BBC reporters all over Africa, we find the stories, the successes, and the startups that will help you make the most of your money. This is Smart Money.
Akili, this is Akili. She has a secret. Tell us. When the sun goes down, Akili goes to sleep, and she enters a world where all the animals speak. Akili, 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 Akili. But there is something strange about this magic land. The animals speak English, which she doesn't understand, but if you help her out, we know it can be done. Akili can learn English and it will be fun. Akili!
A look at the weather forecast. The Namibia interior, sunny and mild in the south, elsewhere sunny and mild to warm. The coast, partly cloudy and mild with fog patches in places, and the wind moderate southerly to southwesterly. Now we'll look at minimum and maximum temperatures across the country and beyond.
merleke sobar. Takesatu saka mama. And you beautiful, look like an angel. I like it when you call me papa. Baby, I don't see any reason to lose you. Cause God told me in my dream I should choose you. Come as I'm kidding, come as I'm kidding Lou. In good and bad times, I'm totally cool.
BBC World News, the biggest African and international news stories. Focus on Africa.